Let's begin by offering our respects to ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. Thank you all very much for joining. We have with us here Divya, Aunty Nita, Ritu Lalwani, Aja, Ayush, Karuna, Manju, NC Venkatchari, Neha Chatlani, and my parents are there, and we have Gayatri. Okay. So in the previous class, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we finished chapter 12, and with that we finished the middle section or the Bhakti section of the Bhagavad Gita. So today we are going to refresh our memories and try to summarize the Bhakti section or the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita. I'll share my screen 1 second. So here we are on our Veda base. So the middle section is from chapters 7 to 12. So chapters, okay, let's first go 1 second. So overview of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7 to 12. So what we will do is first, we will read the summaries here, and then we will go through the same thing in the Veda base by the verses. So chapter 7, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita deal primarily with Karma Yoga, the middle 6 chapters with Bhakti Yoga, and the last 6 primarily with Jnana Yoga. So remember that in all the chapters, from the first to the last, you will find Bhakti. It's just that primarily Karma Yoga is discussed in the first 6 and primarily Jnana Yoga in the last 6. And very heavily in the middle 6, Bhakti Yoga is discussed. But you will find Bhakti in all the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna has explained in chapter 6 that the yogi most intimately united with him was thinking of him within. Now, the 7th chapter explains how one can become such a Krishna conscious person. By engaging in devotional service, one gains determined faith, drida vrataha, and becomes convinced that simply by such service, all his objectives will be fulfilled. So, say in the field of science, what happens is the scientists, they first establish or they put down a hypothesis, something that will be proved with research later, with an experiment later. So first step is to have the hypothesis written. Now this hypothesis is not something that is random or vague. It has to be something that is already based on the knowledge that is already existing or some theories that are already existing. So Bhakti Yoga is also like that. No, the hypothesis is there. No, the great personalities, the great sages, the great devotees like Vyasadeva, all these great authorities that Krishna mentions through the Gita also, like Vyasadeva, Narada, and Asita, Devala, all these great sages, they've already accepted the superiority of Krishna and the superiority of Bhakti Yoga. And Krishna also has declared this in the Bhagavad Gita. So the theory is already there. Now, if we do the experiment, if we take to the process of Bhakti Yoga, then we will see the results for ourselves. Then we can, based on our own experiences of how Bhakti Yoga helps us advance, how Bhakti Yoga closely unites us, very intimately unites us with Krishna. Then we by our own experience, we can see that yes, that statement, this hypothesis of Bhakti Yoga is correct. So the point is that we have to do the experiment. If we do not do the experiment, then how will we get the results? Now, let's say we are doing the experiment, but we are not getting the results that are mentioned. Then it's because we are not doing the experiment properly. Because before us, many people have done that experiment. Many people have realized God. Many people have had their interactions with Krishna. Many people have attained the spiritual realm. So we know for sure that this experiment works. If it is not working in our individual case, then it means somewhere something is missing. Somewhere some mistake we are making. Somewhere we are not doing the experiment properly. So then we need to keep a close check on what is it that we are doing wrong. We need to consult with senior authorities and take guidance as to what is it that I am doing wrong. Okay, so let's go to our Veda base here. You can see the Veda base screen, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
see, okay, thank you. So see here, at the end of the 6th chapter, that is the end of the karma section, Krishna ended with saying that of all the yogis, now there are different yogis, no, there are jnana yogis, there are dhyana yogis, there are karma yogis, and there are bhakti yogis. Now Krishna is saying that of all the yogis, one who abides in me with great faith, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental service to me. So this is the definition of a bhakti yogi. So because wherever there is loving service, no, that is bhakti. So then Krishna says that of all the yogis, a bhakti yogi is the one who is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So this is the connecting link between the first 6 chapters and the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So this leads Krishna to discuss Bhakti Yoga. So chapter 7, the first chapter in the middle 6 section is titled Knowledge of the Absolute. So we discussed how throughout chapter 7, Arjuna does not speak at all. This is Krishna's ecstasy flowing directly from his heart. So this whole chapter is spoken by Krishna. Now Krishna is, what does he begin with in this chapter? He is telling him that now hear, touch Reno by hearing. So devotional process or bhakti yoga begins by hearing. We have to hear from bona fide authorities. No, that's the first step. So Krishna is saying, Arjuna, that now you hear, and you can attach your mind to me. See in this here. So chapter 7, we have the split up here. Mai asakta mana. So mai asakta mana means you have your mind attached to me. How can we attach our mind to Krishna? The beginning is just here, touch Renu. Then Krishna says that after hearing this, nothing else will remain for you to know. So Bhagavad Gita contains everything that one requires to be able to go back home, back to Godhead. It's like the manual of life. When we buy any product, then it comes with a manual on how to use it. So Bhagavad Gita is a manual of life. We know how it has all the information that we need to know about how we should use this human body in order to attain our supreme goal of love for Krishna. Then Krishna talks about the rarity of bhakti. Now, out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who achieve perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So bhakti is very, very rare. The rarest of the rare people engage in bhakti yoga. So then after that, Krishna talks about how everything is coming from him. No, he mentions his material energies here, the gross and subtle elements. And he says that these are my material energies. And then he talks about saying that, yes, there is an energy that is superior to this, that is Krishna's superior energy. And who are they? They are the living entities, that is us. So we belong to Krishna's superior energy. But because of the influence of Maya, we are coming under the dominance of the inferior energy, material energy. Then Krishna says that he is the source of both, everything material, everything spiritual, everything is coming from Krishna. Krishna says that I am both the origin and the dissolution. Then he says that there is no truth superior to me. See, so many times in this Bhakti section, Krishna establishes superiority, not because he likes to show off or blow his own trumpet, but because he wants us to recognize him as supreme, recognize the truth, and therefore then we will have a desire to go to Krishna. So see here, he says, Mata Parataram Nanyat. There is no truth superior to me. And then he gives an analogy how to understand this. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. We may not be able to see the thread in a pearl necklace, right? But we know that the pearls are together because the threads are there in between the pearls. So like that, we may not be able to personally see Krishna yet. But we know that everything is there, everything is existing because everything is resting on Krishna. Then Krishna here in this next section, he's talking about how he's a source of everything. So from 4 to 12, all this section here where he says, I'm the original fragrance of the earth, heat, and the fire. He's the original seed of all existence, is the intelligence of the intelligent. Like that, so on and so forth. Krishna is declaring how he is the source of everything. So one may say that, okay, Krishna is the source of everything. So why is it that everybody is not surrendering to Krishna? Because it is the only conclusion. No? If Krishna is the source of everything, everything is coming from him, then everybody has to surrender to him. So why is it that everybody does not surrender to Krishna? So Krishna says that people do not surrender unto him because this divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. We are not able to surrender to Krishna because this material nature is difficult to overcome. So if something is so difficult to overcome, how are we going to achieve it? Krishna then says immediately, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So we have seen that verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam where it is stated that
Recording in
takes to bhakti, it's like the whole ocean of water is reduced to the amount of water that is held in the hoof print of a calf. So this difficult process can be achieved very easily by surrendering to Krishna. Now, talking about surrender, then Krishna talks about those four categories of people who never surrender to Krishna. Who are those four categories of people who never surrender? Those who are grossly foolish, those who are lowest amongst the mankind, those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and those who are atheistic. Then Krishna talks about four categories of people who do surrender to him. Who are those? Distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. So these four categories do surrender to Krishna. Of these four, who is the best? Krishna says the last category, he who is searching for knowledge. So Krishna says of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For him, I am very dear and he is very dear to me. So here, this refers to a person who has ended his pursuit of knowledge and has turned his face towards bhakti. So Krishna is saying of these four, this last person is the best. Why? Because usually, generally, a distressed, a desirer of wealth, and the inquisitive will leave once their whatever they are looking out for is God. No, if somebody is very distressed, when the distress goes away, then they no more turn towards God. They may go away. Desire of wealth also, the inquisitive also. One his inquisitiveness, once his doubts are answered, he may go away. Of course, some of them may stay back, but mostly, generally, they go away. But one who is searching for knowledge, he does not go away. He remains. So therefore, Krishna is saying that he is the best. But immediately after that, he gives credit to all four. No, so because he's saying, but don't misunderstand. No, Krishna is saying, but all of them, all these four categories are magnanimous souls. They are all Mahatmas. Krishna says he is giving credit to all four categories who surrender to him because whatever may be the reason, at least they are surrendering to Krishna. So he's saying that they are all undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But still, he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. And that person is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. So here you see Krishna is mentioning that he is the highest and the most perfect goal. There is no goal left to attain once we attain Krishna. Then again here Krishna is talking about the rarity of a person who surrenders to Krishna. He says such a great soul is very rare. Now again talking to surrender, next Krishna talks about those categories of people who surrender but not to Krishna. So here he's talking about those who are surrendering to the devatas, to the demigods. What kind of people surrender to the demigods? Krishna is saying those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desire. So we have discussed how the initial section of the Vedas talks about karma kanda, how you can worship different devatas for getting different desires to be fulfilled. Devata worship is usually not done out of pure bhakti, pure devotional service. Just as how you can see how Hiranyakashipu worshiped Lord Brahma, Ravana worshiped Lord Shiva, but that was because they wanted something in return. So the Krishna is saying that those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, they surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Then Krishna says that because he is the super soul, he is the Paramatma who is residing in the heart of every living entity, he understands, he knows very well what is it that one requires, what is it that one desires, not requires but desires, when he is worshipping that demigod. So what does Krishna do? He says, I make his faith steady. So one who's worshipping a devata, it is Krishna who steadies the faith of that person. So Krishna is not some kind of a jealous God who says that, no, you have to only surrender to me, not to anybody else. So Krishna is saying that I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. And then that person, what does he do? He worships a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So even when we get what we desire from a devata, actually that is also coming from Krishna only, because it is Krishna who empowers the devata to give the particular fruit. Then Krishna goes on to say that the fruits that are obtained by the devatas are limited and temporary. So one may say, okay, what's the problem? Anyway, Krishna is fulfilling my desires. But Krishna says that the fruits that you get from the devatas are limited and temporary. Why? Because the devatas themselves are temporary. They are not eternal. No? We have discussed how Brahma and the devatas, they are a post. No? They are a post. They occupy the post. For example, Brahma lives for 100 of his years. And by our earthly calculations, he lives for 311 trillion and 40 billion years. We have calculated how we can calculate the lifespan of Lord Brahma. So then what happens after that duration of Lord Brahma ends, then somebody else is appointed as Brahma. So because the devatas themselves are temporary, therefore the fruit that you get from the devatas also is temporary. We know how Hiranyakashipu, he did so much tapasya for so many years, and he got those boons from Brahma. But how long did those boons last? Very soon he was killed by Narasimhadev. Then Krishna says, those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So here Krishna is contrasting worship of the demigods versus worship of him. Now, when we worship Krishna, then we get the supreme planet. That is, the results are permanent, because Krishna says that once you go to the spiritual world, we do not come back. So unlike the fruits of the devatas, the fruits of worshipping Krishna are eternal, are forever, and it is unlimited. No, it is unlimited, because in the spiritual world, the bliss one experiences is ever increasing bliss. It's not that, okay, now you have come, this is the maximum bliss that you can attain. You have come, reached the maximum limit. Now you cannot go anymore. No, it's ever increasing bliss that one experiences in the spiritual world, ever increasing and permanent, eternal. Then Krishna is talking about the worship of the impersonal form. See here, let's go back to our thing here. Worship of the impersonal is 22-25. What is Krishna saying? Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. So this is a theory of the Mayavadis. They think that from the Brahman effulgence, these personalities like Ram, Krishna have come. So Krishna is saying that they are unintelligent. They are unintelligent to think that from the impersonal Brahman, Krishna has come. It's actually vice versa. The Brahman effulgence is the effulgence that is coming from Krishna's body. So due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Then Krishna says, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. See this very important verse here. Oh Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. So Krishna is saying that he knows past, he knows present, and he knows the future. See, what are the defining attributes of God? The attributes of God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is that he is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. So omniscient means he knows everything. So here Krishna is saying that he is omniscient. He has that attribute of knowing everything, because here he says that he knows past, present, and the future. Even when he shows the universal form, no, he showed Arjuna what's going to happen in the future. So Krishna here, by this verse, we know that Krishna is omniscient. When do we know that Krishna is omnipresent? When Krishna shows the
Universal form.
Yes, when Krishna shows a universal form, he shows how he's pervading everything, because you saw Arjuna was not able to see anything other than the universal form. So when Krishna shows the universal form, he shows that he's omnipresent. And when does he show that he's omnipotent? Just one chapter before the universal form, in chapter 10, Krishna is mentioning, no, he mentions so many categories of people or animals or things, and he says that the potency or the ability of that category or group of people actually represents my potency. So he shows that how he's omnipotent in chapter 10, and he shows how he's omnipresent in chapter 11, and here he's showing how he is omniscient. He knows everything. So God is that person who has these three attributes. He's omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Then here in this last section, 26 to 30, he's talking about Icha and Dvesha. What is that Icha and Dvesha? Desire and hate. He's saying that all these living entities are born into delusion. Why they are deluded? Why they are deluded is because they are bewildered by dualities of this material world. This material world is full of dualities. No, there is good and bad. There is happiness and there is distress. There is summer and winter. Everything here is not a bed of roses, as they say in English. No, here there are dualities. So therefore, the living entities are bewildered. Say material world, Srila Prabhupada explained, is like a cup of sweet rice with sand mixed in it. Can you enjoy it fully? Can you have a cup of sweet rice with sand mixed in it? So that is the nature of this material world. No, that's the nature of this material world. So we are bewildered by the dualities of this material world. And why these dualities are there? Because of desire and hate. We desire to become the controllers. No? We hate to serve. We hate to become the servants. So because of desire and hate, because of Icha and Dvesha, Krishna is saying that we are bewildered by the dualities of this material world. But then Krishna says, those who have acted piously in previous lives, no, punya karmanam, those who have acted piously in the previous life and as well as in this life, then for those people, they can come out. They are freed from the dualities of delusion, and also whose sinful actions are completely eradicated. No? So people who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, they can be freed from these dualities. And they engage themselves in the service of Krishna with determination. Vridavrataha, as we discussed now, with determination. So bhakti means it requires a lot of determination. It's very, very easy. Bhakti is a very, very simple process. Very, very simple process. But then it requires a lot of determination. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman. Brahman here means spiritual. We should not confuse this with Lord Brahma. Okay, they are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. See, in this 29 and 30, Krishna uses these terms: Brahma, Adhyatmam, and Karma. And in the last verse of this chapter, Krishna uses the terms Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, Adi Yagya. So this is what connects us to chapter number 8. In chapter 8, Arjuna is inquiring about these terms. What is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is karma? What is this material manifestation? What are the devatas? Please explain. So he's asking the meaning of these technical terms that Krishna used in the last two verses of the previous chapter. And then he makes this very, very important question. Of course, he asks also who's Adi Yagya, Lord of Sacrifice. How does he live in the body? And then this very, very important question of how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So this lays the foundation for chapter 8, which is titled Attaining the Supreme. How we can attain Krishna. How can those who are engaged in devotional service, how can they know you at the time of death? So this chapter actually explains what we call as Krishna's law of last thought. The art of dying, how we can die successfully. No? So let's go here in our, see here you have a split up of the verses. You can read them when I share the slides in the group. So see chapter 8, Arjuna inquires about 6 terms Krishna used at the end of chapter 7. Brahma, Adhyatma, Karma, Adibhuta, Adidaiva and Adiyagya. So then in 3 and 4, Krishna very quickly answers the meaning of these technical terms, these 6 terms that Krishna uses. And then the rest of the chapter basically is the answer to Arjuna's question. How can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So the answer to this question is basically what is the rest of the chapter. So see here, Krishna is mentioning his law of last thought here in 5 and 6. Whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So if one can remember Krishna at the time of death, then that is the success of this human life. No? Narayana Smriti. One should be able to come to that level of Narayana Smriti at the time of death. If you are not able to think of Krishna, then Krishna says, whatever you are thinking of when you are giving up this body, when you are quitting this body, that state he will attain without fail. So whatever are the thoughts on your mind, whatever is your consciousness at the time of death, that determines what our next body will be. What is it that we must always think? Krishna says, oh Arjuna, you should think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty. So this is very, very important instruction again. We have to think of Krishna. We have to take care of our spiritual life. But taking care of our spiritual life does not mean that we can give up our duties. Each one of us, every one of us has our duties. No, our duties towards our family, our duty towards if you're a man has prescribed duties, a woman has her prescribed duties, a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a parent. Each one of us, we have our prescribed duties. So bhakti does not mean that, okay, I'm in my room and I'm chanting, I'm listening to lectures, I spend my whole day absorbed. It's very nice that you're spending your day absorbed in Krishna conscious activities. But then if whatever prescribed duties we have, that also we have to do. We have to simultaneously do that. So this is Krishna's very, very important instruction. We have to think of Krishna and at the same time carry out our prescribed duties. So if Krishna is expecting Arjuna to do that, and if Arjuna did it when he's right in the middle of a battlefield, facing all these weapons, brahmastras, and so many things are coming at him, at the same time he's telling that you have to think of me, then we have no excuse. We have no excuse. Say 8. Krishna says, he who meditates on me as a supreme personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to attain me. So bhakti means it should be constant. It should be constant, satatam. No, there should be no interruption. No, bhakti should be uninterrupted. So Krishna is saying, mind should be constantly engaged in me and undeviated from the path. So bhakti should not be, one should not get distracted. No, bhakti should be constant and it should be undeviated. Here, let's see the split up. Krishna answers Arjuna's questions 1 to 4, remembering Krishna 5 to 9. Then Yoga Mishra Bhakti 10 to 13. See, from 10 to 13, Krishna is talking about the Dhyana yogis. Because here he's talking about fixing the life air between the eyebrows. No, those who utter Omkara, they are in the renounced order, practicing celibacy. They are completely detached from all sensual engagements. They hold their mind on the heart and the life air on top of the head. Then he establishes himself in yoga. And then again in 13 also, he's talking about him situated in this yoga practice that he's mentioned the above verses, vibrating the syllable Om. And like that, when he quits his body, he will certainly attain the spiritual planets. So this in this section, Krishna is talking about Yoga Mishra Bhakti, or he's talking about Dhyana yogis. And then very quickly from 14, he's again telling that for one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain. So yes, this process does exist and one can attain the spiritual planet by this, but it's not such an easy process. It takes several lifetimes to perfect. But on the other hand, Bhakti Yoga is very, very easy, very easy. And again, Krishna says that one has to remember him without deviation. So as we discussed, one should not get distracted. No, Bhakti means it should be undistracted and it should be uninterrupted. Here he says constant engagement in devotional service. Then Krishna is contrasting the material versus the spiritual worlds, comparing the material and the spiritual worlds from 17 to 22. See, Krishna is saying that all the planets here, from the highest to the lowest, all are places of misery. But one who attains to my abode will never take birth again. So this is the contrast between the material world and the spiritual world. Material world is full of miseries, no matter who you may be. You may be the richest, you may be the most intelligent, you may be the most pretty, most beautiful, but still they're all places of misery. But one who attains to my abode never takes birth again. Then we saw here Krishna is discussing creation and destruction. How at the beginning of Brahma's day, there is creation, and at the end of Krishna's night, Brahma's night, there is destruction. But beyond this, Krishna says there is another unmanifest nature, that which is supreme and never annihilated. So the spiritual world is never destroyed. The destruction takes place only for the material world, but spiritual world, there is never destruction. So you see how Krishna here is contrasting the material world and the spiritual world. Here Krishna says that he is attainable by unalloyed devotion. So bhakti is also unmotivated. No, there should be no motivation in bhakti that, okay, I want something in return. That is not pure devotional service. So bhakti means it is, as we discussed, constant. It should be uninterrupted. It should be undistracted, and it should be unmotivated. These three things are very, very important in bhakti. Then Krishna talks about here the different times at which, so there are auspicious times and inauspicious times for passing away. But then Krishna says that a devotee is not concerned about whether he is passing away in an auspicious time or an inauspicious time, because for a devotee, whatever time it may be, he is not bewildered because he is always fixed up in devotion. It doesn't matter for him. A devotee is on his way back home, back to Godhead. Then Krishna makes this important verse where he says that whatever is gained by other practices, like studying the Vedas, performing the yagyas, doing austerities, tapasya, charity, pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities, all this can be attained just by performing devotional service. So devotional service is the superset. When one engages in devotional service, automatically everything else is considered to be done. We don't have to separately endeavor to do any of these other activities. So with this, Krishna ends chapter 8. This again you can read when I share it in the group. Now coming to chapter 9. What's the title of chapter 9? Does anybody remember?
The most confidential knowledge.
Yes, the most confidential knowledge. The beginning chapters of Bhagavad Gita describe confidential knowledge of the difference between the soul and the body. Chapters 7 and 8 are more confidential because they describe devotional service, which brings enlightenment in Krishna consciousness. Chapter 9 is most confidential because it describes pure, unalloyed devotional service. In the 8th chapter, Krishna has explained that the Ananya devotee, Ananya means pure devotee, he has no other desire, na anya, he has no other desire but to please the Lord. So Krishna has explained that the Ananya devotee surpasses both the path of light and darkness. Now Krishna will explain how to become such an Ananya devotee. The first step is hearing about Krishna. So most confidential knowledge, here first in the verses, Krishna is again telling Arjuna that I am going to impart this most confidential knowledge to you because you are never envious of me. Because Arjuna is a devotee, he is qualified to receive this most confidential knowledge. And what is the result of receiving this most confidential knowledge? He will be relieved from the miseries of material existence. Then Krishna glorifies this knowledge that he's going to speak. So he says, this is Raja Vidya, king of all education, the most secret of all secrets, Raja Guhyam. Then he says it is Pavitram, purest. So like this, he glorifies this most confidential knowledge. Then Krishna's relationship with the material world, 4 to 10. So you can see here how Krishna talks about what is his relationship with this material world. He says that he is everywhere. He is the maintainer of everything. And yet he is not a part of this cosmic manifestation. Because if one doesn't surrender to Krishna, we are only under the modes of material nature. No, we are under the law of karma. So Krishna is like a neutral judge. So he says he does not interfere. So he says that he is not a part of this cosmic manifestation. Also, because even when Krishna appears in the material world, still he is completely spiritual. His body is not material like our bodies. No, our body grows old, we get disease. We have to go through birth and death. But Krishna, he appears and disappears. Krishna does not he's not born and he does not die. Krishna is eternal. So even when Krishna comes, he is completely spiritual. So like this, Krishna is talking about his relationship with this material world up till 10. Then here in 11, Krishna says, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. So foolish people think that Krishna is an ordinary human being. No, so they try to judge Krishna based on his activities when he performs in the material world. So they think that Krishna is immoral or he's a failed politician and so many other things. So Krishna is saying that they are foolish people. They deride me when I descend in this human form. They do not understand my transcendental nature. They do not understand that Krishna is completely spiritual. Then non-worshippers and worshippers, 11 to 19. So 11 are the non-worshippers. Here also he continues that. Then here in 13, he's saying the great souls, they are under the protection of the divine nature. So once we surrender to Krishna, then we are under Krishna's protection. So this is why Bhakti Yoga is easy, because Bhakti Yoga one only depends on the mercy of Krishna. That's it. And Krishna takes care of you. So what is there to worry about? No, but in other yoga systems, one is trying to advance on one's own strength. No, one's own strength. So we have seen this example, no? Cat way or the monkey way. We know the baby monkey holds on to the back of the mother and is holding on its own strength. So there is more possibility that the baby monkey will fall down as compared to the cat. No, the mother cat holds the kitten in her mouth. Now, whatever happens, the mother cat is not going to let go of the kitten. So Bhakti Yoga is the cat way, whereas the other yoga systems are the monkey way. So there is a danger of fall down. There is a danger of fall down. Say again here, Krishna is glorifying, always chanting my glories, always. So as we discussed, bhakti means it has to be constant, always, satatam, no? Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination. bowing before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Then demigod worshippers versus the devotees. So here anyway, Krishna continues. He talks about how he's the father, the mother of the universe, the goal, the sustainer. Then here in 20, he's talking about those who are worshipping the devatas. And he's making a contrast here. And he's saying that those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, they seek the heavenly planets, they worship me indirectly. So when we are worshipping the devatas also, we are worshipping Krishna only, but we are worshipping him indirectly. When they have enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and results of their pious activities are exhausted. So when our punya karmas are exhausted, then what happens? We have run out of credits and therefore we have to come back again. So it's not a permanent place of residence. Even the heavenly planets, they are not permanent places of residence. We are allowed to stay there as long as our punya karmas will last. So they achieve only repeated birth and death. What is the use of attaining those heavenly planets if again we are going to come back to the cycle of birth and death? What is the use of that if we are again going to become cats and dogs? What is so glorious about that? Then Krishna says, but those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So because a bhakti yogi is completely depending on the mercy of Krishna. Whatever they are lacking, Krishna will provide, and whatever they have, Krishna will preserve. So there is nothing to lose. There is nothing to lose in bhakti yoga. So one may say, okay, but even when I worship the devatas, I'm worshiping Krishna. So what is the problem? But Krishna says, yes, those who are devotees of the other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me. So what is the problem? But Krishna says, but they do so in a wrong way. Avidhi purvakam, Krishna says, avidhi purvakam. They are worshipping me in the wrong way. Krishna says, I'm the only enjoyer and master of sacrifices. So there is no possibility of enjoying independent of Krishna. We cannot enjoy because Krishna is the only enjoyer. As long as we are servants of Krishna, then we can enjoy with Krishna. With Krishna. We cannot enjoy independently of Krishna. And Krishna says he's the master of all sacrifices. So everything, all the sacrifices actually eventually are going to Krishna only. Nobody else is the master of the sacrifice. Those who do not recognize this, they fall down, Krishna says. Those who worship the demigods take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors, they go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. So it's not that any kind of worship is fine. Ultimately, there is only one destination. That is false. That is a misconception. Krishna says, whom you are worshipping, that determines where you will go. Then again, see, this chapter has so many verses full of bhakti. Krishna says, if you offer me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So Krishna is not saying what you are offering. Krishna is saying with what mentality you are offering, with love and devotion. Love and devotion. So when one offers Krishna with love and devotion, of course, one is going to offer that to Krishna which Krishna likes. We cannot offer that to Krishna which Krishna will not eat, does not like. Whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that as an offering to me. So this is bhakti yoga. Do whatever you have to do, but do it as an offering to Krishna. You don't want to enjoy or engage in sense gratification separately from Krishna. Everything to Krishna. In the last section of this chapter, Krishna talks about pure devotional service. See, Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. So Krishna is an equal opportunity employer. He does not play favorites. He opens the doors of his mercy for everyone, in the sense that everybody can come and take advantage of his mercy. Then Krishna says, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend to me, and I am also a friend to him. So here Krishna is saying that he's impartial, but here actually he's saying that he's partial. So how to understand this contradiction, this seeming contradiction is Krishna is opening the doors for everyone to come and take advantage of his partiality. He does not say that you cannot take advantage of my partiality. So one who takes advantage, one who takes to the process, one who walks into that door that Krishna has opened for everyone, then one can take advantage of Krishna's partiality towards his devotees. So see, this Bhakti Yoga is so glorious that Krishna is saying that even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he should be considered saintly. So this is so glorious, this devotional service is so glorious that Krishna is saying, if one unknowingly, by mistake, commits a most abominable action, but if he is engaged in devotional service, still we have to consider him to be saintly. Still he is a saintly person. Why? Because very quickly he becomes righteous. Very soon he will come back on track. So we should not criticize a devotee. Even if he unknowingly, by mistake, if he happens to commit the most abominable action. So this bhakti is open for everyone. Even if somebody has a lower birth, this bhakti is open to everyone. Women, Vaishyas and Shudras. Then Krishna ends this chapter by this very, very important statement. Krishna says, Man mana bhava mat bhakto mat yaji mam namaskuru. These two lines actually Krishna repeats again in the 18th chapter. Very, very important instruction. See, this verse actually is cutting the Gita into two halves. It's the last of the 9th chapter. So this verse is cutting the Bhagavad Gita, slicing it into two. So here is where this very, very important instruction from Krishna comes, and he says it again in chapter 18. What is Krishna saying? Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances unto me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So then, chapter 10. Krishna has already described devotional service, especially at the end of chapter 9. To help generate further devotion in his devotee, Krishna now explains his opulence. So Krishna is explaining his opulences in chapter 10. Why? So that to facilitate us to engage in devotional service. Because when we know the opulence of a person, then we get attracted to the person. Opulence always attracts. No, if somebody is very wealthy, somebody is very intelligent, somebody is very beautiful. So all the or any of these opulences that one may have, or one may have a very good ability. One may be an expert at certain. One may have a very special skill. So any kind of opulence will attract. So in order to attract us towards Krishna for our well-being, Krishna describes his opulences in chapter 10. So that's why chapter 10 is titled The Opulence of the Absolute. So what is happening here? Krishna explains how he is the origin of everything. Now see, in previous chapter, Krishna said that he is explaining the most confidential knowledge. Now in chapter 10, Krishna says that now I will explain to you that which is better than what I have already explained. So most better than even the most confidential knowledge Krishna is explaining in chapter 10. So what is so special in chapter 10 that we did not see in any other chapter in the Bhagavad Gita? Does anybody remember? What is this knowledge that is better than what he has already explained? See, in chapter 9, if you have to pinpoint one verse for the most confidential knowledge, it's the last verse. Man mana bhava mat bhakto mat yaji mam namaskuru, which we just discussed, no? So this is the most confidential knowledge. Now Krishna says, I will explain to you that which is better than what I've already explained. So what is it in this chapter 10 that is even better than the most confidential knowledge? Something that we did not see in any other chapter. We saw something called as a Chatushloki Gita. Do you remember? What's a Chatushloki Gita? The 4 nutshell verses of the Bhagavad Gita. The 4 verses that summarize the entire Bhagavad Gita. So what is a Chatushloki Gita? What are the 4 nutshell verses of Gita? Verses 8, 9, 10 and 11. But anyway, before that. Here you see Krishna is now again explaining how he is the origin of everything from verses 1 to 7. And not only is he is the origin of the material and the spiritual worlds, as Krishna has previously discussed, and of all the living entities, but even the qualities, Krishna says, all these qualities also, Krishna says, are created by me alone. So even the qualities are coming from Krishna. Then Krishna says how the great sages, the 7 great sages, the Sapta Rishis, and before them the 4 other great sages, the 4 Kumaras, and how the Manus are all coming from Krishna only, born from my mind, and how all the living entities are coming from these progenitors of mankind. Okay. So then after that, we come to the Chatushloki Gita here, 8. What is Krishna saying? 8. This Chatushloki Gita, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Out of this Chatushloki also, 8 is a summary of the entire Gita, and 9, 10, 11 is an elaboration of that. So what is Krishna saying here? I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Okay, so Krishna says everything is coming from me. He is the source of everything that exists. Now, because he is the source of everything that exists, what happens? Those who are intelligent, the wise, they engage in devotional service to Krishna and worship him with all their hearts. So this is the sweet relationship between Krishna and his devotee. A devotee understands that Krishna is the supreme and everything is coming from him. So therefore they worship him, and they worship him with their hearts. It's not something that's forced. No, Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It's only natural, because that is our nature. By nature, we are parts and parcels of Krishna. We are eternal servants of Krishna. So this is the whole thing boils down to understanding that Krishna is the source of everything, and therefore engage in devotional service. And because they are engaging in devotional service with their hearts, they derive great satisfaction and bliss. The devotees attain great satisfaction and bliss by engaging in devotional service. And what does Krishna do? Krishna, what does he do to those who are serving him with love? He gives the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna also is facilitating, helping those who are engaging in devotional service. He is giving them the understanding. He's giving them the intelligence by which we can go back to Krishna. So how does he do that? Because he is there in the hearts as a super soul. He destroys ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge. So this is a sweet relationship between Krishna and his devotees. A devotee understands that Krishna is the source of everything. He engages in devotional service, and they are attaining great satisfaction and bliss from that. And Krishna also, he reciprocates. He's reciprocating as the super soul. He is giving the understanding of how we can go to him by removing the darkness of ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge. So this is a Chatushloki Gita. And then in the last section, we see again Krishna's opulences. He is describing his opulences. Remember, the title of this chapter is Opulence of the Absolute. So towards the end, Krishna is describing his opulences. But here in between, we see how Arjuna speaks, and he's explaining his realizations. He's expressing his realizations. And Krishna, then Arjuna, how does he accept all that Krishna says? Arjuna says, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. So this is how we have to accept Bhagavad Gita. We accept as truth everything that Krishna speaks, not that I accept that which is favorable for me. No, externally favorable for me, and I don't, something is difficult for me to follow, something I don't want to follow, something that I cannot follow currently. So I say, no, that is not true. That is not the truth, or that is not applicable now. Now in the modern times, this cannot be followed. No, Bhagavad Gita is an evergreen knowledge. It is valid across all yugas. No, it is always the truth. The truth never changes. So Arjuna says, I accept as truth all that you have told me. No half hen logic, no ardha kukuta nyaya. Arjuna is applying here. Then he requests, Arjuna is requesting, please tell me of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. So Arjuna is requesting Krishna to please describe his opulences. And then Krishna goes on to describe his opulences. So he goes on to say so many things. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of the lights, I am the radiant sun. So on and so forth. Like this, Krishna is describing his opulences for the rest of the chapter. And then at the end, what does Krishna say? All the opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So everything glorious that you can even think of is only a spark of the splendor of Krishna. So what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? Krishna is saying, with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So all these opulences that Krishna has mentioned is only one small tiny spark of the splendor of Krishna. It's only a small tiny fragment of Krishna. Now Krishna at the end, he says, with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So that leads us to chapter 11, where Krishna is going to show his universal form. So chapter 11, because Arjuna is going to ask, how are you pervading this entire universe? How you are pervading? So therefore then Krishna shows how he is pervading this entire universe by showing his universal form. So as we discussed, chapter 10 shows us the omnipotency, or shows how Krishna is omnipotent. No, Krishna is saying that everything is only a spark of my splendor. So you see the Lord or Krishna is omnipotent. And in chapter 11, we see how Krishna is pervading this entire universe. So we see how Krishna is omnipresent. So here, let's go to 11. In chapter 11, Krishna proves himself as a supreme Lord and establishes the criterion that anyone who claims to be God must show a Virat Roop. So there are so many bogus people who say that they are God. Well, if they are God, then they must be able to show the universal form, just as how Krishna did. So this is the criteria for anyone who says that he is God. He must be able to show the universal form. So description of his Virat Roop 1 to 31. So the descriptions first, Krishna himself describes the universal form. See here, my dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, see how my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored forms. Here you will see the Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumars and all other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard before. So first Krishna is describing to Arjuna that universal form. And when Krishna says no one has ever seen or heard before, one can argue, but Krishna did show the universal form when he went to Kurukshetra. Krishna did show the universal form to Yashoda when he opened his mouth and Yashoda saw the whole cosmic manifestation in Krishna's mouth. But then one should understand that this universal form that Arjuna saw has one extra feature that the other universal forms did not have. What is that extra feature? Who remembers?
Kala Rupa.
Kala Roop, yes, Kala Roop, no? So this Kala Roop is something that Krishna has not shown anyone before. So after that, Krishna gives him divine eyes to be able to see the universal form. So we discussed how this is actually a downgrade for Arjuna, because Arjuna was able to see Krishna in his two-handed form, which is the superior form compared to the universal form. The two-handed form of Krishna, the Saumya Rupa of Krishna, is superior to the universal form of Krishna. Anyway, so then we see Sanjaya. Sanjaya makes his appearance back now here in this section of the Bhagavad Gita. And he is describing what Arjuna saw. Then we see Sanjaya's description of the universal form, and we see how Arjuna's rasa is temporarily changing. No, now he is bewildered and astonished. His hair is standing on end, and Arjuna is offering obeisances. So we see Arjuna's rasa, and Arjuna is also fearful. No, so Arjuna's rasa temporarily, after he sees the universal form, is changing from friendship to that of fear. Then Arjuna himself describes the universal form. So Arjuna himself is saying what is it that he is seeing in the universal form. So he says, I see assemble in your body all the devatas, all other living entities. I see Brahma as well as Lord Shiva. I see all the sages and divine serpents. So actually Arjuna is seeing the top to bottom of the universe. Then he says that, but this form is very difficult to see because of the glaring effulgence. No? Then Arjuna also sees the host of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them are very much afraid and are offering obeisances with folded hands. So not only is Arjuna afraid, but all these other personalities, all these devatas also, they are afraid and they are all offering prayers with folded hands. Then Arjuna says that all the planets with their demigods are disturbed by seeing your great form. As they are disturbed, so am I. So even Arjuna is very, very disturbed now by seeing this universal form. He is describing the teeth are terrible. Why these teeth are terrible? Because Arjuna is seeing how these warriors on the battlefield, they are entering into the mouth of the universal form. They are getting crushed. There is blood, no? So Krishna is already showing Arjuna that how all these people will meet with death in this war. See, all the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and our chief soldiers, all are rushing into your fearful mouths. And I see some of them are trapped with heads smashed between your teeth. So this Kala Rupa is something that nobody has seen before. Then he gives two analogies. Just as the waves of the rivers are flowing into the ocean, so the great warriors enter blazing into your mouth. And the other analogy, so this analogy of the waves of the river flowing into the ocean is for the devotees. And this analogy of the moths dashing into the destruction in a blazing fire, that is for the non-devotees. Why? Because a moth, when he rushes into the blazing fire, he just meets with death and nobody has benefited from that moth. But when the river before it goes into the ocean, many people, many living entities, the vegetation that are flowing on the banks of the river, they are all getting nourished. No? The rivers are nourishing them, helping them grow before the river goes into the ocean. So a devotee, as long as he's alive, he helps other living entities and they benefit by the existence of the devotees. But nobody is getting any benefit by associating with a non-devotee. So these are two analogies that Arjuna is giving. Then Arjuna asks this very important question. He tells him, who are you and what is your mission? This is Arjuna's question. And then Krishna says that I am time and my mission is to destroy. I have come to destroy all the people. Then Krishna says that just be an instrument in the fight. Nimitta matram, Krishna says, nimitta matram, you be an instrument in this war. So the result is already there with Krishna. Only we have to become instruments. Are we willing to become his instruments? So that is the question. And here, for the only time in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses the word Savyasachi for Arjuna. What does this name Savyasachi mean? Savyasachi
He
means?
can fight with both hands with equal potency.
Yes, ambidextrous, no? He can fight with both hands with equal potency. Okay, and then what happens next? Then Arjuna begins to offer prayers, no? See here, from 35 to 46, Arjuna offers prayers to Krishna, and you will never see Arjuna in this mood anywhere else in the Bhagavad Gita. These prayers that he's offering from 35 to 41. Was it 41? No, 46. 46. So Arjuna offers prayers, and we see how his rasa has changed. And after that, Arjuna requests that please, I want to see you in your original form. He says that I want to see you first in the four-handed form, and then I want to see you in your original form. So Arjuna requests Krishna to please not display that universal form anymore because he's very, very disturbed. And then Krishna says that, okay, you are perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished, because the Lord does not want to see his devotees in distress. So Krishna says, let it be finished because you are perturbed, you are bewildered by this horrible feature of mine. So then Krishna shows his four-handed form, and then he shows his two-handed form to Krishna. And as when he shows his two-handed form, Arjuna says, I am restored to my original nature. So now his original rasa has been restored. So it was only a temporary change of rasa that Arjuna went through. Then again, Krishna ends this chapter by saying that he can be achieved only by undivided devotional service. So only by undivided devotional service, one can understand Krishna as he is. So one can understand Krishna as a person in that two-handed form as he was standing before Arjuna. This last was also very, very important. Krishna says, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and he who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So these are 5. He ends this chapter by these 5 very, very important, potent instructions. Then we come to the last chapter of this middle section, chapter 12, which is titled Devotional Service. So this chapter begins with Arjuna asking, here. Arjuna asking a very, very important question. What is the question that Arjuna is asking? How to worship you, personally or impersonally? Who is more superior? Those who are engaged in your devotional service or those who are worshipping the impersonal Brahman? So, Nirgun Nirakar or Sagun Sakar? Very, very crucial question. Let's read here. The Bhagavad Gita's middle set of 6 chapters began with Krishna discussing bhakti, and Arjuna wants it to end in the same way. After witnessing Krishna's awesome universal form, Arjuna wishes to confirm his own position as a devotee who works for Krishna, as opposed to a jnani who renounces work. So here, immediately Krishna then answers Arjuna's this crucial question, and he says that those who are worshipping me with great transcendental faith, fixing their minds on my personal form, they are the most perfect. So immediately Krishna, without leaving even a shadow of doubt, he is saying that those who are worshipping the Lord as a person, they are the most perfect. So bhakti over impersonalism in verses 1 to 7. Then 8 to 12, we saw the progressive stages of devotion. So Krishna is giving the highest stage of devotion here in 8. And what is the highest stage? Fix your mind upon me. Engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always without a doubt. So, constantly fixing our mind and intelligence upon Krishna. There is nothing else on our mind. There's nothing else that we are using our intelligence for. That is the highest stage of bhakti. But now Krishna doesn't want to leave anyone out. No, he wants to give his mercy to everyone. He wants to include everyone within his circle of mercy. So he's saying, so he gives different stages. And he's saying that, okay, if you can't do this highest level, then if you can't do the best, then you do the next best. So he's saying, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then at least follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. Do your sadhana. Follow sadhana bhakti. Then he's saying, if you cannot even do sadhana bhakti, then work for me. Just try to work for me. So this is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Work, but give the results to Krishna. Then Krishna says that if you cannot give the results to me, if you cannot work for me, then give up all the results of your work. So here he says, give up the results of your work for me in 10, but in 11 he says, give up the results of your work. So he's not saying don't give the results to me, saying just give up your work. So here he's talking about philanthropic activities, some social services that we may do. So what happens is when we engage in philanthropic activities, we engage in we are detached, we are detached, and it can lead to a purification of the heart, and therefore it can create a proper mindset for us to be able to receive devotional knowledge and thus engage in devotional service. So here you can see how Krishna starts from the highest, and then he says you can't do the best, then you do the next best, the next best, and the next best. Then in 12 we discuss again, Krishna says when you can't take to this practice. So this practice here we discussed in our classes how this refers to what Krishna spoke in 10, not in 11. So if you cannot take to this practice, engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Engage yourself in jnana. But better than jnana is dhyana. And better than dhyana is karma. Why is karma better? Because by renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. Because we are not hankering for the results. We are not worried about the results. Therefore, one can have peace of mind. And then after that, Krishna talks about the qualities that make one very dear to Krishna. So that's the last section of this chapter, qualities that endear one to Krishna, 13 to 20. So he mentions so many qualities throughout these verses, and he says, at the end, he says, such a person is very dear to me. Such a person is very dear to me, is very dear to me, is very dear to me. No, always he says is very dear to me. But the last verse, he mentions such a person is very, very dear to me. So how can we be very, very dear to Krishna? Ativa me priya, Krishna says, Ativa me priya, very, very dear to me. How can we be very, very dear to me? By following this imperishable path of devotional service and completely engaging ourselves with faith, making Krishna the supreme goal. So if we are able to do this, then we become very, very dear to Krishna. On this note, Krishna ends the Bhakti section of the Bhagavad Gita. Now question, in this middle section, how many chapters has Krishna spoken exclusively, where Arjuna has not spoken at all? How many chapters are there?
2 chapters.
2 chapters. Which are they?
7 and 8.
7 and
8. 9 is
7 and
9.
yes,
9.
9. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
7 and 9. No, 7 and 9 are the 2 chapters where Krishna has spoken exclusively. So see, as we discussed, Bhakti, what is Bhakti Yoga? It's a scientific process to transfer our desires from matter to Krishna. So it's a scientific process. It's not something that is blindly followed. It's a scientific process because when we follow it, then we see the results for ourselves. As we discussed, science means what? There's a hypothesis, and then there is a procedure that is undertaken, and then you get the results. So Bhakti Yoga is a scientific process. So what does this process include? Transferring our desires from matter to Krishna, getting over material nature, material desires, and transferring our desires to Krishna. So that is Bhakti Yoga. So what are the characteristics of pure devotional service? As we already discussed, it should be uninterrupted, undistracted, and unmotivated. So here there are these 3 verses which we've already discussed. And there are more, but here I have put the 3, where it proves that how Bhakti means it should be uninterrupted, undistracted, and unmotivated. God's defining attributes. Also, we discuss omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. This is there in 7.26, where Krishna says that he knows the past, present, and future. In chapter 10, he describes his opulences, so omnipotency, and omnipresent. He shows in chapter 11, he shows how he's pervading the entire universe. So Arjuna has questions in the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna's 9th question. See, in the first six chapters, Arjuna made 8 crucial questions. And now what are the questions that he makes in the middle 6 chapters? So Arjuna's 9th question in the Bhagavad Gita, what do the terms you just mentioned mean? So in the beginning of chapter 8, we discussed how Arjuna inquires about these technical terms that Krishna used at the end of chapter 7. And here he's inquiring about the terms. So what do the terms you just mentioned mean? Then next question, please speak your glories in detail. What are your glories, O Krishna? So that is Arjuna's 10th question in the Bhagavad Gita. These are all very, very crucial questions or statements that Arjuna makes that determine the flow of the Gita. So he's requesting him to please speak your glories. Oh Janardana, again, please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I'm never satiated in hearing about you. For the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. So a devotee is never tired of hearing about Krishna. So we may read the same pastimes. Now Bhagavad Gita, even if we read a quadrillion times, it still remains fresh. It still remains evergreen. Still a devotee loves to hear Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or any of the pastimes, any of the Leelas of Krishna. We hear more and more. A devotee wants to hear more and more. So Arjuna is saying, I'm never satiated in hearing about you. Then 11th question, when Arjuna requests Krishna to please show the universal form. Very, very crucial questions from Arjuna. Then Arjuna's 12th question in the Bhagavad Gita, who are you and what is your mission? 13th question, who are better situated, the personalists or the impersonalists? So these are the questions we see in the middle 6 chapters. Now, what are the names, Krishna's names in the middle 6 chapters? Let's see. Purushottam, what does that name mean? Purushottam.
Topmost personality.
Yes. Supreme person. Adiyagya.
Best.
Yagya means
Havan. Sacrifice. Havan.
sacrifice. Adiyagya means
The best supreme. The Lord
Yeah.
of Sacrifice. Okay.
yeah, Lord of sacrifice. Yeah, same thing. Uta Brit means
The breath. The breath. The breath. The breath.
Bhuta means what?
Ghost.
Ghost, but here in this context is not ghost. Bhuta means
Past.
Time.
no, not time. Bhuta means living entities. So Bhuta Brit means
Okay, no?
the maintainer of all living entities. Prabhu means when we say, hey Prabhu, what does it mean?
God.
Lord.
God. Adi Devam,
Lord of Gods. The Lord of Lords. Oh, sorry.
the
Lord
original
Vishnu.
Lord. Yes, same thing. Then Ajam, Ajam.
Without.
The one which does
the-
not take birth.
Yes,
Without-
unborn.
Unborn.
Divyam,
Divine.
yes, divine or transcendental. Param Brahma, you can go to your Bhagavad Gita. The verse number is here. You can see and you can answer also. Param Brahma.
Supreme abode.
Supreme truth. Param Dhama is supreme abode. Okay, or supreme sustenance. Pavitram Paramam. Pavitram Paramam.
Pure.
Pavitram
Pure.
Paramam. Supreme pure. Paramam. Supreme pure. Purusham Shashvatam. Purusham Shashvatam.
Eternal personality.
Yes, eternal personality. Very nice. Vibhum.
Greatest.
Greatest, yes. Bhuta Bhavana.
Previous birth.
The origin of everything. Bhuta Bhavana. Bhutesha. Bhutesha. Come on, you all don't have Bhagavad Gita with you. Why can't you all open the shloka and say? You can read and tell the answers. Bhutesha.
Lord,
Lord
of everything.
of everything. Deva Deva.
Lord of all demigods.
Lord of all demigods, yes. Jagat Pate.
Lord of entire universe.
Lord of entire universe. Jagat, no? Jagatpati, Lord of entire universe. Very nice. Yogin.
Supreme mystic.
Supreme mystic. Yes, very nice. More names. Kamala Patraksha. Kamala Patraksha.
Lotus-eyed.
Lotus-eyed Lord. Yes. Parameshwara.
The Supreme Lord.
Parameshwaram. Supreme Lord. Yes. Yogeshwara.
Lord of Mystic.
Lord of all mystic power. Yes, very nice. Hari.
The one who takes away.
Yes, the Supreme Personal Godhead, Krishna. But that name literally means one who takes away. Harna, we say, no, the Lord who takes away. So Krishna takes away from us. What does he take away from us?
All which is not necessary for your well-being.
Yes, all that is inauspicious for our spiritual well-being, Krishna will take away from his devotees. Now, Mahayogeshwar. Mahayoga Ishwara.
The most powerful mystic.
Yes, the most powerful mystic. Very nice. Deva.
Deva.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord, yes. Vishwarupa.
The Virat Root. Or the
Universal,
Yes.
universal.
Yes. The universal form of the universe.
Mhm.
Vishveshwara. Vishwa Ishwara. Vishveshwara.
Lord of the
Of the
universe.
universe.
Lord of the universe. Aprameya. Aprameya.
Immeasurable.
Yeah, immeasurable. Vishnu. What does the name Vishnu mean?
No, such one.
Vishnu means what?
Lord Vishnu.
Yes, but the name of that name? All pervading. Lord Vishnu means he who is pervading into everything. So all pervading, Lord Vishnu. Devesha. Devesha. Deva Isha. Devesha.
Of
Lord of
all
Lords.
Lords.
Lord of all the lords.
Lords.
Jagannivasa.
Of refuge of the
Refuge
worlds.
of the world.
Yes, refuge of the worlds. Devavara. Devavara.
Lord of
O great one among the demigod.
The great one among the demigod. Yes, very nice. Ugra Rupa.
Terrible. Fierce form. Fearful.
Yes. Whose form is fierce. Very nice. Then Kala.
death.
Yes, time or death, the greatest destroyer of the worlds. Rishikesha.
Shikisha.
Rishikesha.
Master of senses.
Master of all the senses. Yes, very nice. More names. Adi Kartre.
The Supreme Creator.
Supreme
The
Creator.
Supreme Creator. Yes, very nice. Then Aksharam.
The word.
Imperishable. Aksharam. That which cannot be perished. Imperishable. Ananta. Ananta. Ananta.
Unlimited. Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Unlimited. Yes, unlimited. Then Mahatman. Mahatman. Mahatman.
The great one.
The great soul. Atma means soul. Then Adi Deva.
Deva means
The original Supreme God.
The original Supreme Lord. Yes, very nice. Then Ananta Rupa.
Unlimited form.
Many forms.
Unlimited form.
Unlimited form. Yes.
Mm.
Param Nidhanam or Param Nidhanam.
Transcendental refugee.
Supreme refuge. Yes.
Refuge.
Param means supreme.
Okay.
Supreme is also
Yeah.
transcendental. So that's correct. Then Purusha Puranas. Purusha Purana.
Old personality.
Old personality.
The oldest personality. Not old, but oldest. Then
Mm.
Prapitamaha.
Great grandfather.
Yes, great grandfather. Because Pitamaha means grandfather.
Brahma.
Prapitamaha means great grandfather. Then
Brahma.
Ananta Virya.
Nandaviriya. It's,
Ananta Virya.
Unlimited potency.
Yes, master of all potencies.
mhm.
Unlimited potencies. Amita Vikrama. Amita Vikrama.
Unlimited force.
Unlimited force.
Who is immeasurable. Oh, I think it's unlimited force. Probably there's a
It's
mistake.
unlimited force, yeah.
Yeah, unlimited force. There's a mistake here.
Mhm.
Then Sakha or
Sakha
Sakha.
is a
Friend.
friend.
Oh,
Friend. Yeah, Sakha, friend. Yadava.
Yadava.
Dear friend.
No. Sakha means dear friend. Yadava means?
It's the dynasty, right?
Yes, member of the Yadu dynasty.
Mm.
Apratima Prabhava. Apratima Prabhava.
Immeasurable power.
Yeah, possessor of immeasurable power. Guru.
Master.
Yes, the supreme spiritual master. So remember this 44 here, this is wrong. I'll make the correction before I send it in the group. Then Pitasi.
Like father.
Yes, the supreme father. Arjuna's names. Deha Britanvara.
Deha Britam Para. Deha Britam Para.
Deha means
Body.
Body.
body. Vara means
Boon.
Best.
Boon.
Body of
best
them.
of
Best
embodied
embodied
beings. So
body.
all those who
Being.
have a deha, he's the Vara means best. So he's the best of all those who have a deha, all those who have a body, this body, material body, best of embodied beings. Kuru Shrestha.
The best of Kurus.
Yes, best of the Kurus, Kuru Shrestha. Savya Sachin.
The one who can fight with both arms.
Both arms, yeah.
Yes, one who can shoot arrows very
Very
expertly in the
expert.
field, ambidextrous.
Mhm.
Kuru Pravira. Kuru Pravira. Best
Best
among the
among
Kuru warriors. Okay, best among the Kuru
Best
warriors.
among the Kuru warriors.
Okay, so those are the names that we saw in the middle six section. And here you have a list of the analogies from the Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 to 12. So these are analogies from the translations as well as from the purport. So these analogies help us to understand the concepts even better. Because when we are given examples that we can understand, then we can understand the difficult concepts as well. So here I've put here, this you can read when I share the slides in the group. So these are the analogies that appear in the middle six sections of the.
Mhm.
So one may say, okay, where is Bhakti in the middle six chapters? So here you have a list of the shlokas where are focusing on Bhakti. No? So where is Bhakti in chapter 7? Here you can see a list, 7.14, 19, 23 and 28.
Indeed.
Where you can find Bhakti in chapter 8.
8. 8.7, 14, 22, 28.
Where can you find Bhakti in chapter 9? So here you have a list of all those shlokas which are talking about Bhakti. So Bhakti in chapter 10, Bhakti in chapter 11, Bhakti in chapter 12. So you can go through, these are more for your self-study. You can take it up as a project and you can see and you can go through these when I share the slides in the group. With this, by the mercy of Sri Guru and Sri Krishna, we come to the end of today's presentation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Does anybody have a question or a comment?
Mataji, will you share these notes today?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything we need to discuss? So how is it going with the exam? Last day for submitting chapter 12 is
24th, Monday.
24th Monday. Okay. In case you see, because I see many of you are getting 99, 98, 97, very close to 100. So if you like, if you want, 2 days before the exam, you can ask me before you hit the submit button
Okay.
if there are any wrong answers. And I can tell you, okay, you got 4 wrong, or you got 5 wrong, or you got 3 wrong. No. And if you want, you can recheck your paper and go through it again. So it can be, you can have the opportunity to get a full 100. Because many of you, most of you actually are almost there. Very high, you all are very high scoring students. So if you want, I am giving you this facility. 2 days before the exam, before you hit the submit button, you can ask me. But that doesn't mean 2 days before the exam, you will start working on it. No, you do it before, but before you hit the submit button, you can ask and I can tell you, okay. And then you can make your corrections. And one more time you can ask me. So twice you can ask if you're ready to hit the submit button and I can guide you. Okay, you need 2 more, or you need to recheck this particular section or say this. So depending, I can also guide you. And if you like, you can write to me and I can tell you before you can hit the submit button.
Mataji, my email is not working. It's not opening. So can I have this option too? It's a very beautiful option that you just presented.
Why
Just
is
for
your
that. Email is not working because one thing, it's completely full and someone else made it for me. And it's just not, it's not working. It's frozen.
Okay, I will speak to you. We will discuss this in private.
Yes.
Okay, so this opportunity I'm giving y'all can use this, take advantage if you like, and if you feel comfortable you submitting without that also, you can do as you like. So you can do. Okay, anything else we need to discuss?
Okay.
So one may ask, okay, what about those who have already submitted chapter 12? So I can also return your papers. Okay, I can, if you like, you can message me. I can return your, if you already submitted, I can return your papers. You can make the corrections and submit again. But sometimes what happens is when in correcting it, sometimes people are marking the right answer as wrong again. So that's a risk that you have to take. Okay?
Can you send me, please, Mataji?
Yes, I will send you, Lavina. Did
Thank
you already
you.
submit?
Yeah, I have submitted.
Okay, I will return your paper.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else we need to discuss? So this applies till the end of the course for all the exams.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji, for this option. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, then, since there are no more questions or comments, we'll end today's class. Thank you very much for joining. In the next class, if Krishna so sanctions, we will begin with chapter number 13. Till then, have a nice week in Krishna consciousness. Vancha kalpataru vyascha, kripa sindhu vyevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagawad Gita ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat, Jai Shri
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji,
Yes.
I have a small question.
Yes.
Sorry, late. Actually, that devotees will not see for good and bad days, no? But Bhishma is waiting for a long time for Uttarayana to come. So how to understand this?
Yeah, so a devotee does not think that he's a devotee. A devotee never, if a devotee thinks that he is this great devotee, then he's not a devotee. So one always thinks that I am not a devotee. A devotee always thinks that I am a fallen conditioned soul. No, that's how a devotee thinks. It doesn't
Okay,
matter
Mataji.
for a devotee, but that's not how a devotee thinks. A devotee never thinks that he's a devotee. He always thinks that he's a rotten, fallen, abominable
Okay.
person.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. See you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.